by about 3 or 4 pair at a time.
Oh, I have them all in the house.
Good evening. 7 o'clock. I'd like to call a meeting to order. Stratford Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission. First order of business is the minutes of last October 19th meeting. Has everyone seen them, had a chance to take a look at them? You don't have them? Any corrections, additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second, John. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Under new business, we have no old business. New business, we have IWWA application number 2016-12. Construction of a self-storage facility and associated infrastructure altering 32,843 square feet of upland review area of Ferry Creek. Proposal includes mitigation via restoration of on-site wetlands and upland review area. Site address is 771 and 815 Barnum Avenue Cutoff. Assessor's reference map 50.10, Block 5, Lot 5, and map 40.10, Block 13, Lot 8. And the applicant is Buildner Capital Corporation. We don't have anybody here, I don't think.
I don't believe so.
Is there a representative of Buildner here? Okay.
I've spoken with them previously, and I told them that at this meeting we would simply be accepting the application.
All we can do at this meeting is to accept the application.
If you want, I could give you a brief summary of what it
be
entails.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
Sure.
if staff could go over it, and then,
So it's in my memo, so I'll just kind of hit some bullet points. Currently on the site, there's an impervious surface area of about 46%. The total impervious area of the lots would be increased to about 60%. And currently, the site wetlands are in pretty deplorable condition. In fact, it would be considered a violation. I'm trying to figure out who the actual violator was because it seems that the property has switched hands a number of times. So the proposal that we have on hand actually is advocating for cleaning up the area of the wetlands within 50 feet of them. So they'll be doing some wetlands restoration within 50 feet of the water course to help with things like drainage and soil infiltration prior to the water running off into Ferry Creek / Long Brook. Because right now everything from the property just sheet flows straight down into the creek itself. So the mitigation that they're proposing is a nice aspect of the proposal. However, it is something that should be necessary anyways, being that the site is pretty much one giant violation at this time. So this restoration that they're proposing is definitely a necessary part of the application itself. The facility itself, only a portion of it is going to be within the 100-foot upland review area. It should say here how much of it. About 0.75 acres of disturbance is proposed within the upland review area. A portion of that, a small portion of that is the building. The rest of it is a paved parking lot. And along with building the structure itself, they obviously have to put in drainage infrastructure. It involves on-site treatment, so they're going to have catch basins with deep sumps to capture all impervious surface runoff, Flow will then be directed to a hydrodynamic separator and then onto an underground detention basin, and that basin will then discharge via a new outfall into the wetlands buffer area that they will be creating on site. So they're expecting that treatment train to capture at least 80% of the total suspended solids prior to discharging out into the creek, which is obviously a benefit over what's there now, which is nothing. Everything's sheet flowing in. So I believe the restoration that they've proposed is an adequate form of mitigation for the disturbance that they'll be making itself. I do think we need to look a little bit further into the violation aspect of what's taken place there prior. I don't know if any of you know any history about the site. I couldn't find anything other than a letter back from 2000 from the environmental conservation officer at the time, who simply wrote a letter to the owner of the site at the time stating that they needed to come in front of inland wetlands for a permit should they wish to undertake any further activity near the wetlands area. It was very vague. I couldn't find any sort of certified letter sent back and forth. So I'd like to get a little bit more knowledge about the history of the site before we make any actual determinations moving forward. But they've done a very good job of submitting a complete application. They have the site plans, they have the wetlands delineation, they have the stormwater management report, and the application form itself has all been filled out completely, and they've paid the necessary application filing fee, which came to just over $4,000. If we're to impose any sort of violation, we can tack that on later. But as of right now, I believe the application itself is complete, and I think we could go into a deeper review of it and have the applicant address the commission at our December meeting, and we can have further discussion from there. And also at the December meeting, we'll need to decide whether this represents a significant impact activity and whether it warrants public hearing.
Gina, have you been to the site yourself?
I only drove by very quickly, and there's currently things like abandoned vehicles in the lot.
Does it look
There's a
like
lot of-
there's been any
It looks like there's been dumping, and
contaminants? Or, I mean,
I'm not sure what type of contaminants. I just took a quick look. There were some people down at the site in some pickup trucks. I'm not actually sure what they were doing. They weren't dumping anything at the time. So there's definitely a lot of cleanup to do, and I would recommend a site visit. So if you have time between now and the December meeting, you know, you're more than welcome to visit the site. And if you want to let me know before you go down there, I'm certainly willing to reach out to the applicant and set up a time for you to be down there, or at least so they know you're coming.
Isn't that the site that floods all the time?
I'm sure it
Full of
does.
water?
I'm sure it does.
Anytime it rains, it's always 3 feet of water back there?
Because the site itself, there's a building at the top of the lot, which is right on Barnum Ave, and then it slopes downwards towards Ferry Creek. So I would certainly not be surprised if it flooded. Certainly not. Which is another reason why I believe the mitigation that they're proposing would definitely be a net benefit for the site overall. But obviously, there's lots of questions we have to ask of the applicant.
I just have a couple of questions. The application is requesting the structure that is 32,843 square feet, but the overall building is 97,316 square feet. Is that correct?
So they're altering they're altering over 32,000 square feet of upland review area.
Okay.
The building facility itself is pretty much set back from that. So it's going to be a 97,000 square foot
So
facility.
the whole building itself is going to be self-storage?
Correct.
It's only going to be for one use.
Correct.
There was an application going back, I couldn't tell you how long ago, but farther up Barnum Avenue towards the railroad tracks, years ago, someone applied for a self-storage unit there, right where the veterinarians.
Yeah, I believe this is the same spot.
No, it was farther
Not?
up. It was farther up.
Okay.
And the vet sued the developer because there was an issue with property lines and intrusion into his property and everything else. But at that time, from what I remember, I forgot who the enforcement officer was. It wasn't you, right? Yeah, I think the commission wanted the area clean because it was laden with, like it is now, with junk cars and everything else, and there was supposed to be an order set to remove, all of that junk that's back there, but it never happened. So that's what I remember.
And I actually received an email from the attorney representing that veterinarian shortly after this application came in, stating that they would be opposed to any sort of development on the site. And I said, listen, we're just looking at it from a wetlands aspect, and that's all I can do. If you want to battle it out in zoning, that you could battle it out there. But from where I sit, looking at the plan that they've given us, they're at least going to be cleaning up that wetlands area and, like I said, giving us that net benefit that we've
I agree.
been lacking forever.
Yeah.
So from where we sit, I think it can be a good thing to move forward with at least this restoration aspect of the project, and I look forward to the applicant coming in to speak with us about just how they intend to go about everything. Because obviously, as we review the application, I'm sure there will be more than a few questions that pop up.
Yeah.
And I did actually, I was able to go through aerial imagery going back to 1995, looking at the site, because I was really trying to figure out when all the dumping started happening at the site so I could try and catch who was actually doing the violations. But I could only find, there was a gap between maybe 2000 and 2002 where the dumping seemed to have happened, but I couldn't determine who the owner was at that time. It was kind of convoluted. So I'm hoping we could get a little bit more of that information from the applicant when they come before us.
Any other questions? We need a motion to accept this application.
I'll make the motion to accept the application.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right. So we're going to notify them to come to December 16th, right?
Correct.
Okay. Staff reports, what do you got for us, Tina?
As you remember, we had the violation at 350 Whippoorwill Lane. I'm still in the process of trying to reach out to the town attorney to speak with him about what we can do as far as a fine for that violation moving forward. I haven't received anything additional from the violator in terms of those comments that we had on the wetlands restoration plan, so I'm waiting for that as well. I can't really move forward, though, until I have this meeting with the town attorney. I just wouldn't feel comfortable issuing a fine without going through that route first.
Okay.
And aside from the clear cutting of that property, did he have plans to put anything on the property?
Well, apparently he did, because he went to planning and zoning to see what he needed to do to get a building permit. And this was after he had clear-cut the property and knew that he was in violation of our wetlands regulations. So John Rozatsky and Jay Hibansky told him, "Oh, listen, you got to go get your wetlands permit first, so you have to deal with this violation first." And he went through the rigmarole with him and sent him back over to us. And I said, "Where have you been for the past 3 months?" So that's kind of when the whole thing got rolling again. So it seemed to me that he wanted to just build a home there to live. I don't know if that's still his plan or not.
Okay, Commissioners Forum, anybody got anything? We have a motion to adjourn? You have a second? All in favor? Thank you.
And everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, you also.